Autumn evening, Avenue Pahlavi, Tehran. I hear more than my footsteps in these long, narrow streets. The echoes of Tehran's alleys ring with new memories of today's incessant clamor for automobiles and their insatiable need for space. How quickly these little streets give way to broad avenues and the ubiquitous car. The day for many Tehranis begins at the fruit and vegetable market. First light sees many people immersed in the purposeful bustle of buying and selling, trading and hauling. As the piles diminish, produce from all over the country is channeled to the greengrocers of the city for the dining tables of Tehran. Bales of sabzi, Iran's national salad, crates of apples, sprays of radishes, racks of melons, barrels of onions. The products of the nation's fields swirl around the vendors in a soft, leafy wave. The green tide runs its course every morning of the year, until the last carrot is loaded and the last truck is gone. Tehran's tomorrow can be seen in the aspirations symbolized by the Shahyad, the soaring monument inaugurated during the country's celebration of 2,500 years of the Iranian Empire. A gift to the city in memory of this celebration, it houses some of the most significant treasures of the Iranian people, from the ancient splendors of the past to the technical marvels of achievement under the Pahlavi dynasty. Tehran today is everywhere, but especially in the Great Bazaar, where the jewelers' shops are just one of its many sections. Spilling over many blocks, the bazaar was once the center of the city. Around it I can still see the most important buildings of the late 19th century capital. The Shams-ul-Emare, the sun or most splendid of buildings, was a palace built under French influence, a culture much admired by 19th century Iranians who made its imitation fashionable. The bazaar may be the only element in the city to retain its traditional flavor in spite of the industry and rhythm of its modern days. I still see here Tehran's most fascinating people, characteristic clothes, distinctive habits, the traditional and the modern, side by side. Some of the traditions of Iran may seem exotic to Tehranis themselves, like the ritual of the drums and trumpets. Once they played warriors into battle. In later times, they sounded every day at sunrise and sunset in the Nagare Khane, the house of the drummers. Today, they are gone. This is the last Nagare Khane, dating from the reign of Reza Shah the Great. With its unique shops and numerous stalls, the bazaar is not only the business center of the city, but has become a magnet for the touring Westerner. Perhaps he feels that here is the only spot left in Tehran where he can experience a taste of the exotic Orient, so conspicuously missing in the rest of the city. The House of Parliament, the seat of Iran's democracy. We fought hard to gain it, and many men died maintaining it. But we held the doors open, the symbol of democratic government. The Sepah Salar Mosque, not the oldest perhaps of Tehran's many mosques, but certainly the most representative, dating from the late 19th century. Tehranis seldom look back, preferring future promises to past certainties. Some things, however, are woven so deeply into the city's life that nothing has changed their texture. The ceremonies of Ashura, the month of the mourning for the murder of the third Shiite Imam, seems to cut across the lines of age, status, and conviction. During these days, the face of the whole city is turned toward the traditional rites. It is too easy to see Tehran as a city of contrasts, traditional and modern. East meets West, old versus new. The reality is more profound and infinitely more complex. These young people, for example, are waiting to take the entrance exams for Tehran University. They know that today's workers need both knowledge and training for the exacting jobs of the modern world. In response to this rising demand for higher education, new universities and other institutions of higher education are being created in every major city of Iran. But Tehran continues to outdraw them all, the pulsar of every student's ambition, the rainbow on his way to a professional pot of gold. No amount of persuasion deters them, and the population of the city grows and grows. If the traditional character of Tehran is finally lost, it won't be the fault of these young artists. The City Theatre of Tehran offers this avant-garde company, as well as many others, a home on its boards. Even its lovely gardens refresh the soul, a place to stroll, to chat, to dream.
حالا اگه من یه چیزی بگم شما منو مسخره میکنی. من میگم میام به جاش وای میستم. ها شمس‌الله خان.
I'm sure young performers dream their share of dreams, but rehearsal is just a lot of hard work. Here in Rudaki Hall, they practice for an Iranian folk dance program. I'm afraid I find the lotas a trifle incongruous with the traditional movements, and my mind's eye keeps trying to supply the graceful costumes of opening night. Since its inception, the Iranian Opera House has provided a varied program every year. Opera, ballet, concerts, and special productions of old masters and new, by seasoned artists from all over the world. One of Tehran's oldest museums, the Archaeological Museum, contains another kind of Iranian heritage. Here, the precious pre-Islamic and early Islamic artifacts are preserved.
گفتم تا اینجا که من میدونم اونجایی که میخواد بره چه روزگار بهش خوش بگذره چه بد بگذره روزگارش اینجا دیگه
My eyes record the modern young actors, but my mind sees the typical Iranian characters of yesterday, caught in animated silence, in the Ethnological Museum. The marvelous Gulistan Palace, with its famous marble throne, sparkling mirrors and beautiful gardens. It was in this palace that Reza Shah the Great was formally enthroned in 1926. The dancers rehearsed their strenuous steps. The Qajars glare from the walls of the Nigaristan. At whom? At us? Today, young Iran continues to perform, oblivious of yesterday's gaze. I live a turbulent life in my city. Today's Tehran is no place for leisurely strolling or sidewalk conversation. Everywhere I turn, there are battalions of people in fleets of cars. But even in all this turmoil, there is a point, a red point, which focuses my hope and reflects back stillness. For years I have seen her moving about the city, a bright red figure, watching, smiling, resting. She always wears red, no one knows why, and she never speaks. A silent witness to the drama of Tehran. What do you dream, lady in red? Visions or nightmares? We'll never know. But she's a point in my city, the Tehran I love, a silent, dreaming red point. Out of a vast number of improbabilities, I can predict one thing for certain. These hills will not be bare much longer. Every open space around Tehran is on someone's site plan, marked for development in the ongoing modernization of Tehran. Every week sees a new highway, amusement park, housing project, as Tehranis struggle toward a more convenient tomorrow. Some of this convenience is an illusion. No sooner are they finished than the new highways are choked with cars. The new parks are jammed with people. The waiting lists for new apartments grow steadily. And in this exhausting frenzy of expansion, there is too little convenience and too much tension. At the cost of familiar things, we grope for a new balance. Tehran doesn't like to think of yesterday. Our eyes are on tomorrow. But the road to tomorrow must pass through today, where places are changing, habits are changing, people are changing, I am changing. I love the foothills of the Alborz Mountains, just above the city. For years I have come here to spend the day, drawn by the quiet restaurants and shady gardens. Small streams feed tiny waterfalls, and then wind slowly through the trees. Here I doze and play and wander, refreshed by this gentle place of many happy memories. Stately villas descend the northern avenues of Tehran in giant white steps. Here too are popular clubs and luxury hotels, the playground of other Tehranis. Below is Saripol Square, the setting for a style of life now gone, where fashionable Tehranis once took the air on fine summer evenings and amused themselves in gay but dignified elegance on holidays, where being seen was more important than seeing, and the whole book could be read in one glance. Many a grandparent today will sigh and nod as this song recalls those times.
شب شنبه پیش بدون تشویش برفتم پی گشت به سوی تجریش بدیدم سر پل هرچی بخوای آدم قاراش میش سیبیل دوگلاسی صورت صاف چهره پر ریش فکلی قوز میتید توی اتول بود بغلش خانومی تو پل مپل بود دل پل حوثش کیش متش دستش برول بود هر آن کس جم میخورد زیر اتول آقای فکل بود فلان لات خورده چون عرق کشمش زمستی افتاده توی خشوفش برای خانوما دل و جیگرش داره میره مالش اگه جیک بزنی چاق میکشه میگه آی نفرته مرگ میخوام خانم خوشگلی با پوز عالی خدا با پای لخت و ابروی حلالی بلال دندم میزد در کنار سینی حلالی شدم زین منظر جون شما حالی به حالی سر پل این شبا خیلی شلوغه پر از همه باز صدای بوغه سر پل محل راند و بوی فقری و فروغه هر آن کس این وسط نفل نشه دارای نبوغه
Not long ago, Elizabeth Boulevard was just a sandy stretch, broken by a few trees tracking the small stream, a place where boys did their lessons between impromptu ball games and practiced tall tales on their comrades. At night, it hosted other games, more favored by the darkness. In the rush to change the face of Tehran, we sometimes put our good sense in a pocket. Hassanabad Square, for instance, is the victim of one typical example of bad judgment, happily now under control. I've known this house for many years, from Avenue Shah's days of quiet homes and quieter lives. Today, the ragged garden tells its fate. It is only a matter of time before the wreckers clear it away. Small houses in Tehran cannot survive the twin pressures of space and design. The growing number of families needing housing seems to demand optimum use of land. At the same time, the continued construction of reinforced concrete high-rise apartment buildings shows up isolated houses as old-fashioned and impractical, a luxury few can afford. The average family leaves the smaller, older house and trades its grills and gardens for modern living, a box 10 stories off the ground. Abandoned houses soon die. Their empty shells break down and then collapse. Demolition follows. In their places rise concrete towers labeled homes. From these high windows, I stop and look and sort out my place in the pattern of progress. This ground used to be covered with patched tents and oil drum shacks, shelter for the poor and other unfortunate victims of social circumstances. Today, 15 years after the Iranian White Revolution, large numbers of brick houses have replaced the tent cities. New homes for the same people who now share in the right to a normal social standard of living. Tehran's railway station was built during the reign of Reza Shah the Great and is still one of the most important buildings in South Tehran. A slightly fancier train also makes its run in the south, in the largest and most modern park of Tehran. It used to be a dumping ground for garbage and rubbish of all kinds. Now the more traditional Tehranis, many of whom live in the southern part of the city, enjoy their weekends and holidays in its green loveliness. foreign face is still a rarity here, probably because of its distance from the more cosmopolitan areas of Tehran. Tehran needs more parks and green spaces. The royal family, always an inspiration of fundamental development, donated the marble palace and its magnificent gardens to the city. Once a royal residence, located in the center of Tehran, the palace is now a museum, displaying symbols of the various areas of social progress covered under the Pahlavi dynasty. From the suite of Reza Shah the Great to the monument marking the points of the White Revolution, the Marmar Palace is a document of the Pahlavi dynasty's accomplishments. The royal crowns of Iran form the magnificent centerpiece for the famous crown jewels collection on display in Tehran. The proud heritage of a proud people. The crowned heads of Iran's past keep watch over Tehran's present, a symbol of the active partnership between the monarch and his people, in a common bond toward a common goal of national welfare. Overlooking Shahanshahi Park is the National Iranian Radio and Television Building. NIRT is a young institution making a strong contribution toward expanding the cultural life of Iran via the electronic communications media. Here we see the videotaping of the Tehran Symphony. The influence of the world on Tehran is palpable. Italian ices, German sunglasses, French haircuts, Japanese watches. The list is long and the results are mixed. These women share in the spirit of the ancient caravans, bringing foreign goods to the local marketplace. They offer exotic wares to the highest bidders, and include a touch of the fascinating Occident with each sale. Without doubt, such enterprise promotes its own reward. On reflection, it may be that the flea market offers a better bargain. We rage, we roar, a mighty selves command the sun and more, until the scene is done. When trailing strings, the the master steals the dolls, and borrowed voices silence, one by one. What heaven glows with painted stars? What garden blooms of tinted glass? Can hope be fashioned out of chrome, or love be made from straw and last? I would have said I knew where heaven placed the worth of hands and head. But now I know. When bread was weighed, it balanced work and thought. Yet who has judged its value, high or low? I see the face of thoughts undreamed. I hear the sound of songs unsung. I wear the cloth of coats unseamed, and hold the plan of deeds undone. For a long time, the fashion was à la West, and goods and services followed suit. Now it is more interesting to be à la traditional. The popular Black Players Theatre has been brought back into the restaurants, and palm readers lend an oriental touch. This was once an enormous cistern storing water for a whole district. Now it has been converted to one of Tehran's famous restaurants, a la traditional, where the food is served in Iranian pots and Iranian bread is baked in Iranian stone ovens while you wait. The visitor buys her fortune from the fortune teller, a la traditional, and I worry that the ordinary things of my life are becoming rare and significant, like the quaint robes on museum mannequins. To live à la West was once the thing to do in Tehran, the fashionable and desirable way to live. Now, through marriage, jobs or tourism, the number of actual Westerners living a genuine Western-style life is so great that it no longer has special appeal for many Tehranis. It is just one more way of living in the midst of many choices. Tehran offers something for sports fans of every persuasion. Zulkhane is the traditional sport of the ancient Iranian warriors. Originally designed as conditioning exercises, it is still a serious sport for young men all over Iran, and incidentally, a popular tourist attraction. The sport of kings has a long and honorable tradition in Iran, predating the earliest historical records. Life goes on, and she sits still, the silent, patient lady in red, as if she would have it just so. Relaxation is not a luxury for Tehranis. It is a survival factor. Unless I balance my burden of city tension with liberal doses of distraction, I know I cannot exist. Fortunately, the city, source of my pain, turns another face and offers me many kinds of cures. Some of the resorts outside Tehran have been incorporated into the city proper. Others are a short distance by car or bus. The water sports at the Karaj Reservoir attract both doers and watchers, possibly mostly the latter. Picnic in the woods beside the Karaj River is the next best thing for those without a garden of their own. And for those with their own private streams and trees, the program looks remarkably similar. Tehran attracts people from all over Iran, but perhaps more significantly, it has also called the world to its streets. From both east and west, people have come to do all kinds of work in the city. A soccer match in Tehran's big stadium may feature a visiting Eastern team, and I often see my Eastern friends happily cheering the teams on. Yesterday, Avenue Istanbul was the fashion center of Tehran. The shops were elegant, the customers were grand, and the prices matched the atmosphere. Today the shops are common, the customers are frantic, and the prices match the atmosphere. But still, an elderly Tehrani, remembering perhaps the ways of youth, prefers to come to Avenue Istanbul when he wants something out of the ordinary. The Mehran Bazaar near Istanbul always has something going on. It is one of the scenes of the old city that has played continuously into the new. It used to be famous for its range of goods at reasonable prices. It still is.
دکوته داری؟ بلوز زنانه بدون آستین دکوته همین زره حتی زیر آزادش بزن
Between Istanbul and the Mehran Bazaar is Laleza, my beloved tulip garden. It was the choice theatre district of Tehran for many years, the focus of the young, the gay, the mildly adventurous. This is Gigolo. This is Gigolette. If I hum the old song as I wander through the street, I can conjure up their faces and see them play again their old charade.
دیشب تو لاله‌زار میرفتم از کنار دیدم مادمازل شیکی موهای او فری ادباری و غیری لبهاش سر تا سر ماتیکی تا که او را دیدم سر تا پا لرزیدم جانبش دویدم از ذوقم خندیدم ها 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 برداشتم کلاه حسن متین و موقر گفتم مادمازل بونسوار بفرمایید یک دم باشیم هر دو با هم تفریح نماییم می نگار کرد به سویم نگاه آن یار همچون ما با من افتاد به راه یواش یواش از توی خیابون رفتیم هتل پالاس زدیم چند تا گیلاس با آن پریروی خوشگل گفتم ای ما شیری حالا تو حاضری پاشیم بریم سوی منزل فوری برخواست جا گارسون را کرد صدا گفت این را از اینجا ببر بیرون به دست بازبون
اگر به دنبال دیدن برنامه جالب و تماشایی آمده اید بدین جا بیایید و از قسمت‌های مختلف و متنوع برنامه تئاتر ما دیدن کنید. رقص زیبای عربی، نوای گرم و دلنشین آشتیانی، تنین دلانگیز نوای خوش و پرتنین آقایی، دلانگیز و خوب و دلنشین نوای.
The theaters in Al-Azhar are as busy as they ever were. It's just that the feeling has changed. The people have changed. I have changed.
آقای عزیز شروع شد. آبر محترم به کجا میری؟ به کجا میخوای بری که نظیر برنامه مشخنبه رو ببینی؟ بشتابید، عجله کنید آقای عزیز. زلیخا گفتن و یوسف شنیدن کی بود مانند دیدن. نمایشنامه مشخم. چیه؟
Tonight I'm going to see an opera at Rudeki Hall, The Bartered Bride.
یوگی ایرانی با نام یوگا همه در تئاتر تهران. آقای عزیز شروع شد، همین الان شروع شد. بفرمایید آقای عزیز، چرا منتظرید؟ بلیط بخرید و اصلا
I could have gone to a kung fu performance, or a traditional presentation by the avant-garde theater, or a King Kong performance, if I have a lot of patience. The close family life of theater people blurs most distinctions between the real and the illusion. The one flows gently through the other. Or there is this local specialty.
گل سنگم چی بگم از دل تنگم مثل آفتاب اگه بر من نتابی سردم و بیرنگم همه آهم همه دردم مثل طوفان پر گردم همه آهم همه دردم.
It has been said that all the world loves a lover. We also know that all brides are beautiful. It must follow then that all the world loves a beautiful bride.
گل سنگم چی بگم از دل تنگم مثل آفتاب اگه بر من نتابی سردم و بیرنگم.
Tonight she is living a memory, not only for herself, but for all of us who share it. This is part of my Tehran, the pride and pleasure I take in being a Tehrani.
خاموش دلم رو تو پر آوازه کردی. آتش این عشق کهنه دیگه خاکستری بود. اومدی وقتی تو سینه نفس آخری بود.
Autumn, morning, Avenue Pahlavi. In winter nature sleeps, and winters are short in Tehran. The spring here is as lovely as it is anywhere in the world. Summer vibrant, searing. And then the dead leaves fall. For one I love. Today's desire veils past songs and future fears. I watch them blow, the boundless winds of zeal, and I measure life against my fragile soul.